The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions of WBGR Network.
Happy Friday and good morning and welcome to the Wanda's Warriors radio show. It's a new month. Today is the first day of November and the year has gone by so fast, and I'm excited for today because today is National Authors Month. So all the authors that are watching, I want to say congratulations to you all for being an author. And it's also National Epilepsy Month. So if you know someone who has epilepsy, my prayers are with them, and continue to watch over them and keep after them. You know, there's a lot that goes along with epilepsy, and just know the triggers that may trigger their epilepsy. So since it's National Authors Month, I need you all to like, share, and start a watch party with this video, because this is going to be an exciting show. I have two phenomenal authors on the show today. The first half of my show is going to be with one author, and the second half of the show is going to be with another author. But I want to give a shout out to comedian E Boogie. He was the comedian last night at Safe Night at Restoration Free Gospel in Lexington Park, Maryland, and he is a phenomenal Christian comedian. So if you can go on Facebook and find him, Christian comedian E Boogie. So shout out to you, E Boogie. You told me to give you a shout out. He was excellent. He gives his testimony in humor, and so I really enjoyed that. So today, the first author is going to be the award-winning. She's a keynote speaker on domestic violence, sexual abuse advocate, a published author, an actress, and she was a radio personality right here on WBGR. And she has so many accomplishments. She has an awesome testimony and story. So I want to introduce you all to Rene Michelle. Give her some love. I love the purple in her hair. And you know, this is National Epilepsy Month, and epilepsy color is purple. Yes. And she suffers from epilepsy. But I'm not going to tell her story. I'm going to let her tell the story.
Well, thank you, Wanda, and hey, everybody. As Wanda mentioned, my name is Rene Michelle, and I am, excuse me, a national advocate against domestic violence and sexual assault, as well as a survivor of all of the above. Normally when I share my story, I like to start off by sharing a little bit about my childhood so everyone could have a better understanding of where I came from and why I move the way that I do. At an early age, I was molested by several family members at the ages, as early as I can remember, was 5. At the ages of 11, 14, and 26, I was raped. I eventually met this young man who I thought was going to save me from all of my past hurt and trauma. I thought he was going to be my knight in shining armor, and he ended up being more like a nightmare. He eventually, he was really nice in the beginning. He was a gentleman. He held the door. He said all the right things. He did all the right things. And then over a 2-month period, I started noticing changes in him. He started, well, first of all, I want you all to pay attention to some of the things that I'm going to mention to you, because there's signs of an abusive personality. He started to tell me what to wear and what not to wear. He told me where I could go, where I couldn't go. He started isolating me, not only from my friends, but from my family as well. He started stalking me. I couldn't even go to work. It got to the point where he would come to my job, because he had his own job, and a business rather, and he would come to my job and sit in my job and watch me. And if anyone talked to me longer than he thought that they should have, he would start a physical altercation with them. It got to the point where he started, he got barred from my job. Then he started calling my job and telling me to leave the phone off the hook so he could hear everything that was going on. Needless to say, that didn't last. Then he started coming back up to my job, and he would stand outside of my job and wait for me to get off. Now, all of these things that I'm mentioning to you, I would think that I should have known the signs, that they were signs of abusive personality, but because of the fact that I am also a second generation domestic abuse survivor. I grew up watching my father abuse my mother as well, but I didn't see any of these signs. As a child, I heard the punches and I heard I see my mother's bruises and everything, but the verbal, the mental, the emotional abuse, I didn't see it. My dad hid that from us. I would just hear the screams in the middle of the night and things like that. So at this point, I didn't know that was abuse.
I didn't know that was abuse either, because I grew up seeing family members and friends being physically punched. And so when I was in several relationships, when there was mental, emotional, verbal, and spiritual, and then I was listening to Michael Baisden's show one day, and he had a lady on there, and she was like, these are all signs of domestic violence. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that, you know. And it's a lot of people out there who do not think that if you're not being physically punched, that it's not abuse.
And that's the furthest thing from the truth. Like you mentioned, is emotional, verbal, mental,
it can be financial,
spiritual,
sexual.
And it's sexual abuse, and it's of course physical abuse. But all of these things I went through and continued to happen. And in the beginning, I honestly thought it was cute.
Wow, really?
I thought it was cute because I was like, oh my God,
he loves
me so much that he doesn't want to be away from me.
Oh, wow.
It got really uncute really fast. All of these things started happening. He would say things to me like, nobody cares about you. The only person that cares anything about you is me.
Controlling.
You see nobody else is around because nobody else cares. So like you said, it's control. And at that time, I'm thinking like, maybe he's right. Nobody else is, where's everybody at?
He was keeping them from you, so
he was isolating me. And because I didn't know, I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe I should, believe that he's the only one that loves me. And at that point, all of these things are happening. And then finally, the physical abuse came in, and I can remember it as if it was yesterday. I told him that I wanted to go to the store, and normally I couldn't go anywhere without him. I'm talking about literally from my apartment to his apartment was diagonally across the walkway. I could not even go there without him. And this particular day, he said to me, I said, I want to go to the store. He said, go ahead and come right back. I was shocked, but I went ahead and I came right back. It took me about 15 or 20 minutes to go and come back. And then when I get back, I knocked on his door where he stayed with his sister, his brother-in-law, and their twins, who were 5 at the time. And as soon as he opened the door, he immediately grabbed me by my hair, and he drugged me. He drugged me past his sister-in-law, his brother-in-law, and their twins as they sat and watched television. Nobody got up. Nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. Nothing.
No, like you should telling him to stop. Nothing.
No, they didn't do anything. Then he drugged me into the room where he slept, and he began to beat me, and he beat me bloody. And when he finished beating me, he grabbed me by my hair and he stood me up and he turned me around to him and he looked at me and he said, you're not leaving me, right? And at this point, I'm afraid. So I said no. And he said, good, because if you do, this is what's going to happen. He took a gun and he put it up to my head and he pulled the trigger. He began to make Russian roulette a regular part of my life from that point on to keep me in fear. And it worked. I was so afraid of him. Anything that he told me to do, I did it. It was like I was no longer Rene. I was like this shell or a robot or something. I just did whatever he said. Now that the cat's out the bag, I see him for who he is. The beatings came more often. he started beating me in public. It got to the point where one particular day we went to Union Station and we went there shopping, and I remember I had a bag with a pair of boots in it, and we just had a bunch of bags, and we were getting off the bus, and he started walking ahead of me, and he would often just out of nowhere just get an attitude, and just out of nowhere. I didn't have to say anything or anything. He would just get attitude. So he started walking ahead of me. I'm walking behind him, and a guy thinks I'm walking by myself, so he said something to me, and I'm like pleading with this man, like, please
go away, go away,
leave me alone, right? And he turns around and sees him. He runs back, and he says something to him. The first thing I could think to do was run. So I try to run. He catches me. He grabs me, and he snatches the bag out of my hand and takes the bag with the boots in it and hit me across my head with all of his might. And I literally saw stars that day. And I thought, like in cartoons where you see the stars,
especially Tom and Jerry.
I thought it was pretend. It's real.
Jesus.
It's real. I shook it off, and I ran. I ran to the guy in the booth, and I begged him. I said, sir, can you please call the police? Because my boyfriend is beating me. He runs up behind me and says to the guy, oh, don't pay any attention to her. She just forgot to take her medication today.
Like, she's the one that has the issue.
Yes. This man looked at me, and he looked at him like to say, I don't know who's telling the truth. So I said, sir, if you do not call the police and something happens to me, you're going to be held accountable.
The blood will be on his hands.
Exactly. And I said, can you please call the police? He said, look, dude, I'm calling the police. If you're leaving, you better leave now. So he did call the police, but by the time they got there, my aunt had beat them there, and I left with my aunt. For the next couple days, I was afraid, needless to say, because he told me if I ever called the police, if I ever told my family, he would not only kill me, he would kill them. If I left him, he would kill me. So at this point, I'm like scared to death. I'm like, just scared. So for 2 days, I didn't see him. He didn't come around because he thought I had called the police. So every day that I walked in my apartment, I literally had to creep and look in each room.
Eggshells.
Yeah, because he would break into my apartment. So I'm scared that he's there hiding or something. So this one particular day I came in and everything looked normal. I got back to my room, I opened my door, and he was kneeling in my room with candles lit around my room, crying, begging me and telling me that he's sorry, he won't do it again. But on my dresser was the gun. So the first thing I thought was, God, take care of my family because I'm going to die tonight. That's the first thing that I thought. And I was like, Jesus. I was in survival mode. I said, I'm just going to do whatever he says. And I asked God, I pleaded with God to please get me out of that situation alive. I was specific. I said, please get me out of this situation alive, God, and I promise you I will do anything. And he answered my prayers. The following day, I happened to be sitting in his window. Like I said, it's diagonally across from mine, and I was just gazing out of his, and I know God placed me right there at that time in that window because I see 2 females at my door. And I don't get visitors for a year.
You didn't see anyone?
Nobody. And this particular day, I see 2 females at my door, and I'm like, oh my God. He's in the bathroom, and I said, I'm going to run to my apartment and I'll be right back. And he again said, okay, come right back. I ran like a freed slave.
That was your way of escape.
I ran like a freed slave. By the time I got to my apartment, they were not there. I saw the car pulling off. I chased their car down.
I've been running so fast. Wait, hold up.
Yes. I ran and I banged on the window and I was like, don't ask any questions. It happened to be my cousins, 2 of my cousins,
looking for you.
That had to say,
God sent them there.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
They said they just decided, let's go check on Rene today.
Wow. That was God.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I said, don't ask any questions. Just grab anything that looks important and run. So we run back into my apartment. We each grabbed a handful of my clothing. And I ran for my life. And I didn't look back. But when I left, I didn't leave alone. I eventually found out I was pregnant by my abuser. I now have a beautiful 27-year-old daughter by my abuser. And as I sit here today, I also suffer with grand mal epileptic seizures due to severe blows to my head at the hands of my abuser, but I'm alive.
Amen. God save you
Yes.
to be here for
So I can be on Wanda's show.
You can be on my show.
Yes. So I can be on Wanda's show today, and I know for a fact. And I stopped getting emotional, but I'm feeling kind of emotional right now.
Me too. I'm like, okay, where's the tissue?
Yeah, right. But no, I know for a fact that this is real. That this is my purpose, and I know for a fact that because the fact that on that helicopter, when I had 6 seizures in a row, they lost me. They lost me, and I was resuscitated. And I know for a fact that it was not for nothing. I know that God blew air back into my lungs, so I could be here today.
So you could be here, so you
and
could
serve
show
my purpose.
serve your purpose, and share your story.
Share my book.
You have a book, and it's called tell us the name of your book.
It's called Moments in Her Story from Pain to Purpose. This is actually my second book. I'm working on my third book. This is a compilation, but I'm working on my book as we speak. I'm just I'm just so happy about everything that's happening right now. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and everything happens when it's supposed to. I truly believe that. Everything happens when it's supposed to. But I wanted to send a shout out to my cousins, the 2 that showed up that day.
They were your angels.
They saved my life that day. And my cousin Greta Barnes and Phyllis Bell, my cousin Phyllis Bell, God rest her soul, she passed away from breast cancer. She was a friend.
Phyllis Bell was in my breast cancer sisterhood group called Pink, Bold, and Beautiful.
Yeah.
And she was our firecracker.
Yes. She was something else. She was something else. But I mean, they saved my life that day. And I mean, they just saved my life. And I just love them, to death for that. And I know if they hadn't showed up that day, I probably would either be in jail or dead. Because I kept saying to myself, if he hits me one more time, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I started hiding knives in his apartment, in my apartment. I literally hid a knife in the hallway of his apartment, where behind a fire hydrant, because that was the last place he uppercutted me back up the steps. And I said, if he hits me one more time, I'm going to gut him like a fish. I thank God. I thank God every day that I did not do that, because I speak to women at the detention center that have taken their husbands' lives because they were tired of being beaten.
Yeah, and that's where it's like it's a constant build-up. And it's like that. It's like just like the show was on Lifetime, I believe. It's called Snapped. Yeah, it's like you take it for so long, and it's like you have an out-of-body experience to where it's like, this is it.
This is it.
And you just go off on that person,
And that's where I was. But they came on time. They came on time in so many ways, because I could have been, I work at a rehabilitation center, and I tell my clients there, I was one mistake away from being where you are today.
Wow.
Most of them are there from prison. And they've done, a lot of them have been through everything that I've been through. And that's why they decided to take the road that they took as far as drugs and alcohol is concerned. I made the decision to, let me tell you the honest to God truth. I did a lot of things because of everything that happened to me from the age of 5 all the way up until 2012, when I finally decided to share my story for the first time. I did a lot that I'm not proud of, but it was because of the situations that I had dealt with as a child. I didn't know any better.
So do you feel that because you was molested and raped repeatedly, and then by family members, that here comes this as you thought your knight in shining armor, saying all the right things and everything, that was love.
I thought it was. I knew it was, because that's what it felt like in the beginning. But then as soon as it switched up, it was like, wait a minute, where is this coming from?
Because love doesn't hurt.
Right,
love
right.
Doesn't hurt.
You don't say painful things to people. You don't say hurtful things to people that you love. You don't put your hands on people that you love. You don't degrade people that you love. So if anybody is doing any of that to you, they don't love you. You have to love yourself first. And I had to learn to love myself because of everything I had endured. I didn't love myself at all. I felt worthless. I felt, I just felt like nothing. But I love myself now.
Yeah, and then with the isolation, it makes you feel that others don't love you because you didn't see any family members.
Yeah.
But, I remember in one, the Gospel for You magazine a couple years ago, I wrote an article called The Pain Had a Purpose. And you have a business.
Yes,
Isn't that
Pain to
something?
Purpose.
Pain to Purpose. So can you tell them what your business is about?
Yes, my business is for women, men, and children that are running from an abusive situations. I help them to get into safe housing and with any other resources that they need to get them on their feet. I've been doing this for, like I said, since 2012. My business just started in 2017. That's why I said to you, everything happens when it's supposed to.
And then you said men, because a lot of people have the misconception that only women get abused. But men get abused as well. So do you have a lot of men?
You know what? I have, as a matter of fact, I just did a show here last week. And I had a gentleman that was sitting right here where I'm sitting at that was abused as well.
Was he married or?
He was in a relationship. It was, I believe it was his child's mother or something. And he was abused.
Wow.
Yeah, he was abused and he shared his story on here. And actually a young man by the name of Christopher Barnes, he was an abuser. And I had the honor of sharing a platform with him because he brought to light everything that an abuser thinks.
Wow, yes. I would love to.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you his
brain.
information. Yes.
That would be awesome to have him on the show.
He told us what he thought, what he looked for, women with low self-esteem.
Wow.
Women that don't have any father figures or any brothers, any, things like that. He targeted them.
And see, and that's when I saw a quote one time, beware of the man that prey, P-R-E-Y, on you instead of P-R-A-Y.
Exactly.
For you.
Exactly.
Be careful of that.
And I respected the fact that he was upfront and honest. And now he's married.
Wow.
And he's doing well and everything. I mean, we did some shows and everything together. We were going to start a business together, and we were going to partner. Me as a survivor and him as an abuser. And it was called the Billionaires Cafe. He made that up. Don't ask, but yeah. But God moved him somewhere else, and he moved me in a different direction. But at this point, we're both still, sharing, and we're both still serving our purpose and everything. So
and seeing out of that, then you became an actress.
Yes.
So wow, I mean, I'm telling you, God will turn that pain into purpose.
Yes, He did.
What did you star in?
I starred in 2 movies actually, and they both were sequels. Life According to Rashida was a movie about domestic violence and breast cancer awareness.
Wow.
That was my very first movie, and Phyllis was right there.
Oh, gotta love Phyllis.
Phyllis was right there.
Our
her
angel.
And Greta. Yes, she was right there. I have, so it was my first movie premiere, my first movie ever, and she showed up. As usual, she showed up.
She will show up.
Yeah, so it was, like I said, about domestic violence awareness and breast cancer awareness. And then we did the sequel to that, Life According to Rashida 2. And then I did a movie called Residue. Yeah, Residue was about, it was a little out of character, but I played not really out of character because I am a officer, but a security officer. But I played a police officer in this role. And it was dealing with, the things that are happening all around the country as far as the police brutality and things like that. So I played a police officer that was killed And my kids did not like that at all.
How dare you kill our mother?
Exactly. That's just what they said. So he killed me off. But the first one, of course, I didn't die on that one because I had to be in the second one. But it was Residue 1 and 2.
Wow.
So yeah, and I just did a play called Torn. Oh, I want to shout out Roosevelt Jackson, who is the producer of my the movies that I've done, and he's doing he's doing an awesome job. He has a movie coming out. It's oh my God, I can't even think of the name of it, but it's about bullying.
Oh wow,
it's about bullying, and if you
real.
go to my page, is really, his movies are so head on, like everything is just like right on. But I've also done a play called Torn, which was comedian Tanya. She's Christian comedian Tanya. Yeah, she's awesome too. She it's her true story. Wow. It's her true story, and it's so powerful. I played her aunt.
No.
I played her aunt in it, and it was my first play, and I was scared to death.
Oh no.
But I did fine. I made it through it. And hopefully when they go on tour,
you'll go.
I'll be going with them.
See, look how God was setting that up, because my second book here, The Storm Has a Ministry too, is going to be a stage play in 2020, and we're going to have casting calls. So you gotta come on up. You got some experience behind your belt. So Rene, if someone wanted to contact you to for you to come out to give speeches or to share your story or even to buy your books, how can they reach you, and what are your social media platforms?
Okay. Well, I'm Rene Michelle, Rene with the accent over the last E, Michelle, Michelle, on every social media. As far as my books are concerned, all of my books are on Amazon. This one was a bestseller, but they're on Amazon. You can go purchase them there, and you can find me on all social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, everything. Rene Michelle.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you for being on my. I am so honored. I can tell. I know an actress.
Look, the honor is all mine. I promise you it is. It's the honor to be here.
Thank you so much.
And you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
A great job.
I get so nervous. I'm like, this is my first
nobody
time
can tell.
This.
Nobody can tell. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Then we're going to go to a commercial break, and I hope that you enjoy the song that will be played during the commercial break. And when we return back from the commercial break, I will have another author sitting in this seat. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Bye.
Because the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need. He lets me rest in the meadow's grass, yes. And then He leads me beside the quiet stream. He restores my failing hand, yes. And He helps me to do what honors Him the most. That's why I'm safe. That's why I'm safe. That's why I'm safe. Safe. When the storms of life are raging and the billows they roll, oh, they begin to roll, and I'm glad
You hear them next door. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming back and joining us. I hope you enjoyed that song. And that song is near and dear to me. It's called Safe in His Arms. And because of the topics that will be discussed today, I felt that that song was appropriate, especially with Rene Michelle's story, because she found safety in God's arms. And I have another author that has joined the hot seat. But first, I want to read her synopsis. And her name is Cheryl Dyson-Bennett. And the official synopsis of her book, which is called In the Arms of Jesus, Favor, Increase, and Promotion. I like all of that. But In the Arms of Jesus is a riveting story of Cheryl's life, from humble beginnings growing up in South Carolina to her current life as a wife and mother in Metro Washington, D.C. She's employed by the United States government. Cheryl holds nothing back that she shares her life in this introduction of her first published offering as an author. And I believe that there will be more. In the Arms of Jesus is a transparent story of a life that gives love and loyalty. In the pages, you'll go on a journey with Cheryl as you read about the mistakes she made and the incredible strength she displays as she recovers from those mistakes. We see a young woman with a determined strength going after her dream life as she faced pregnancy, supporting a boyfriend while they both struggle with the choices they both made. Cheryl's story is one that highlights the power of faith, even when one fails and makes mistakes. I call that grace too. That's the grace of God. Yes. In the Arms of Jesus is a testimony of a young woman who finally understands redemption and forgiveness from her Savior, Jesus Christ, as she extends the same measure of forgiveness and restoration to the young man who becomes her husband. Together they find life and love as they build a family and move on from the pain of their past. Everyone welcome Cheryl Dyson-Bennett. Yay!
Well, thank you, Wanda, for having me
for reaching out. Yes. I am so excited to have you on the show.
The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you. Now, you grew up in South Carolina.
Yes, I did.
Way in South Carolina, and you end up here.
Yes.
How did that happen?
So, back in South Carolina, like you said, I was raised and born. I came to know my boyfriend at the time, and we had a child together. And because of his lifestyle, he was out in the streets. Okay. He was getting in a lot of trouble and everything. And so we needed a fresh start. Mm-hmm. So with that fresh start, and he already had family that was located here in Maryland, we relocated to Maryland for a better opportunity and for a better way of life.
Land of milk and honey. The land of milk and honey.
And to live that lifestyle back where it belonged, in South Carolina. So that what prompted our move here to Metro DC area.
Mm-hmm. Now, your book is called In the Arms of Jesus, Favor, Increase, and Promotion. But your book cover is what really caught my attention. It's unique. Is there a meaning behind your book cover?
Yes. So for me, it meant that everything that I have gone through in this life, all the trials and tribulations, all the mistakes that I've made, God didn't turn his back on me.
My God.
He had me in his arms the whole time. When I thought that I had no one else in this world, when I felt like I was so alone, especially there were periods in my life where I was a single parent, raising my boys alone. And sometimes I would just go out and sit outside and say, Lord, what did I do to deserve this?
Now, you said boys. How many sons do you have?
4 sons.
Okay.
Yep. And so that's the meaning behind this title. And I want the viewers to know as well, it doesn't matter what you're going through, what circumstances or challenges you're facing, nothing is too much for God. Just know that he is with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. And you are in his arms, whether you believe it or not. He has you right where you need to be. So just keep the faith and know that you are the head and not the tail, and you are above and not beneath.
Say that. I love that. And in your synopsis, you talk about you made many mistakes, but you learned from them. Can you be transparent in what those were?
Yes. So one of the mistakes I made, and a lot of us, we have, it has been times in our lives when we say, oh, I will never do that, X, Y, and Z.
Or never be in someone's shoes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I was one of those. I said, I will never be in a relationship with a married man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was one point in time that my boyfriend at the time, he was living in a different state than I. And so for 2 years, we tried to make this relationship work. But for some reason, it just wasn't working. So I had a friend who I grew up with in the neighborhood, and he would stop by just to check on me and the kids, and you know how the devil works sometimes.
Yeah. The subtle things start and then it grows into something. How the little foxes come
right.
in. Yeah.
So he was friends with my boyfriend's cousin.
Okay.
And so he was calling, getting the dibs on him. So he find out that my boyfriend was seeing other women. Oh. And then at the time I was calling his aunt, and basically she said, you need to move on with your life. So when I found out that information, I was like, oh, payback.
Oh. Like women do. Most women do that.
So I was like, I'm going to get revenge. And not knowing that I was really just hurting myself. But I entered a relationship with this guy. And he was married. And so that relationship went to another level. And so that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made. Because instead of me trusting in God and letting him deal with the situation, I tried to take matters into my own hands. And whereas another family was disrupted because of that.
Oh, the wife found out about it?
Yep.
Okay.
And then not only that, my kids went through this process with me as well. So that was, if I could take anything back, I would take that
would
back.
Be it.
Yes.
Wow, that's something. So when you're going through all of this, did you have to learn forgiveness? Because, a lot of times we struggle with forgiveness.
Yes.
It's like, okay, we can forgive someone else, but at first we have to learn we need to forgive ourselves. So did you struggle with forgiving yourself for entering to that relationship, and how did you go through forgiveness and forgiving him, and seeing your kids watch this? Did they have a different view on you as their mother?
Well, because they were so young.
Okay.
And the guy, he didn't come as mommy's boyfriend. He came in as a friend or an uncle to them. He took on the kids like, I'm your uncle, I'm here for you. And so they didn't see anything differently other than him being that support for them.
Okay.
Yes. So I did had to ask for forgiveness because I was wrong. And even though I wasn't married to my boyfriend at the time, but it is one of those commandments that stuck with me. And you know how you feel convicted of things.
God will convict you. You'll be like, oh my God.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. And I was like, Lord, please forgive me, for thou hast sinned.
I know, right? And we use the thieves and the thousands.
Right, exactly. Oh my goodness. But yes, so that was a process for me. Asking for forgiveness, and not only that, I also had to ask my kids for forgiveness, not only with that relationship, but because I felt like I wasn't the best mom that I could be to them.
Okay. And
the reason being is because we moved a lot, and they didn't have the stability that I wanted them to have. And I struggle. I try not to show them the struggle, but I'm being transparent. I was on food stamps. I was on welfare. I did all of that, but I didn't allow my circumstances
to dictate.
Yes, exactly. So I had to ask them, and I really prayed about it, because I was like, Lord, I'm doing the best that I can do, but I was just so hard on myself. But they forgave me, and they knew that Mom loved us, and she always have our best interests at heart.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Because, you know, sometimes kids, even children, can hold a grudge.
Yes.
You know, against their parents, you know. So I'm glad that they, you know, offered you forgiveness as well, because that's especially with moms and boys.
Right, exactly.
You know, that's a whole different relationship there. And so you now are married. Are you married to the boyfriend? And how did that come together?
So we have gone through a lot. We have been
This is
through
a lifetime movie.
Yes, oh my gosh, like 23 years,
wow.
of a lot of stuff. So it was at one point where the kids and I, we moved back to South Carolina because I was like, this just isn't working. We went to counseling for a while, and I was like, oh, things are getting worse. And, you know, just from trying to take care of just the kids and I with the rent and everything, I was like, this is just too much. Yes, and I was like, I really don't have the support that I need here. So I went back to South Carolina to work on myself. And it was a healing process for me. It was a healing process for the kids. In my mind, I had moved on with my life.
Okay.
But it was at one church event that I went to that my mentor, pastor friend, invited me to. She asked the pastor to pray for me. So the pastor prayed for me, and he said, what do you want God to do for you? And out of nowhere, I said, I want my marriage. And I started crying. And I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Where did that word come from?
Where did that come from? I do not want this man. But I was like, it was feelings that I had bottled up in me because I love him, you know. And after that service, things began to shift right before my eyes. He began calling more, coming more, supporting more, all of those good things. I went on a fast. And God, in that fast, he gave me the green light to reconnect with my husband. And so he came to South Carolina to relocate us. I ended up transferring my job back here in Maryland. So it was just a smooth transition for us.
Because when God guides, everything will line up.
Right.
You know, but when we try and do things on our own, it just goes haywire. So now that you're married,
yes,
and you have 4 sons, how did you become an author?
So I became an author because I was always a writer as far as journaling.
I love journaling.
So it was my personal letters to God. I never thought that I was going to step out of the box. Because they were just my personal letters to him. So it was last year when the Lord spoke to me, and he told me he wanted me to share my story. And he wanted me to be transparent. I always considered myself to be a private person. And for me to actually share this story, I was like, Lord, are you certain you want me to do this? So for a while, I let it sit. And it was a woman of God came to me, and she said, the Lord said, you need to write that book.
That you already knew that you needed to write that book.
So I sat on it some more. You know, like I would start and I'll stop. Several months later, a man of God said, the Lord said, you need to be doing something. You're sitting on what he told you to do.
Wow.
It was something in me when he said that. I was like, Lord, I do not want to disappoint you.
Yeah.
So I began to write this book. So when I wrote this book, I share a lot of things in here that is hurtful. And it brings a lot of things to light. Especially for my husband, because it's different when you see things black and white, and you don't realize that you have put a person through a lot of things.
Yeah.
But one of the things it shows is it shows growth, and it shows maturity. It started out one way, but then it has a happy ending. So one of the things I want to do is, if I could just go back for a moment to forgiveness. One of the things I had to do, and I need to share this, I had to forgive myself.
Yourself. That's the first thing.
Because I was so hard on myself. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was beautiful enough. I didn't think I was smart enough. I held that in me for a very long time. And it took a long time for me to actually allow God to come in and to actually start that healing process. So now I feel like, you know what? I am more than enough.
Yes.
I'm more than
you
enough.
are wonderfully made.
Yes.
And we're made in His image. But circumstances in life can make you feel that way because it's like trial after trial. And you're like, God, you know, am I not good enough? I'm not smart enough? Why I can't maintain all of this? You know, like you said, you was on food stamps, and you're like, how did I get here?
Exactly.
You know, how did I get to this place?
But you know what? Through it all, I can say I had perseverance, and I didn't let my current circumstances at the time dictate my future because I always had goals in mind. And even back then I set goals for myself, and I tried to follow those goals, even though, you know, God sometimes has a different plan from us according to Jeremiah 29:11.
He knows the plans for us.
Exactly. But also coming back to that forgiveness. And I want to share this, and hopefully my husband is listening. I want to ask for your forgiveness for the times that you felt that I wasn't here for you, or for the times you felt that I mistreated you, or I wasn't giving you the support that you needed. You have always been my cheerleader. You have always been there for me, no matter how it looked or if I used to discount things. But I want you to know that I value you, and I honor you, and I thank God for you. I thank you for everything, all the things that we have gone through, because who I am today is partly because of you and the things that we've gone through together. So I want you to know this day that I love you. I love our boys, and I'm looking forward to many more years with you.
Amen. That is a wonderful testament of forgiveness, and I hope that he was watching to receive it.
Right.
You know, it's one thing to say it, but the person has to receive
exactly.
it. You know, so I pray that he does receive it. And how can someone get in touch with you to purchase your book? You know,
yes.
And are you on social media? What are your social media platforms?
Okay, so if you want to purchase my book, you can go through my website, www.CherylDysonBennett.com, and that's Cheryl with a C, Cheryl, or you can go to Amazon.com. I'm on social media on Facebook under my name, Cheryl Dyson-Bennett, or C Dyson _. And also on Instagram, cdyson2 _. Also, I have a women's empowerment group that I love encouraging and inspiring women.
Yeah.
So I would love for all women to come and join us and be inspired and empowered. We have different women who share inspirational things. Just as myself, who is an author, we have other authors come on and they share their things. So any great thing that can build up the community, that's what we are here for, because I don't want any woman to feel like they're left alone. They're by themselves.
Yes.
There are a community of ladies who are out here to cheer you on.
And we need that, and it's called Destined for Greatness. Correct?
Yes.
And that's what women need, you know, not to tear each other down, but to build each other up, especially in ministry.
Yes.
You know, that's a whole nother topic.
Yes.
You know, building each other women. It's hard.
It is.
You know, it's hard when you're not in ministry, but when you're in ministry, it's hard to find that support from other women. So I just want to thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, I was about to cry when you was speaking to your husband. I mean, that's a testament of how a relationship of God is. You know, where you can ask for that forgiveness, even if it's openly.
Right.
But,
exactly.
You know, so, and I just pray that, you know, he sees it. He'd be like, yeah, baby, I forgive you. You always got that little humor. So I am just honored. Like I said, today is National Authors Day, but on my show, I will be highlighting authors every Friday, because I know so many authors, even some authors have come out to me in Facebook that I don't even know of, and they say, well, so-and-so told me, that you're an author, and we heard for the month of November that you're honoring authors. So some Fridays I'm going to have like 2 authors on the show, because so many people want to be on the show, and I'm just honored, that all what God is doing in my life. This is the first time I've ever done something like this, and God is just sending people to me. So I just thank God for that. And I send out a newsletter every week that will tell you who is going to be on the show. So if you want to join the newsletter, go to my website. It's wandabriscoe.org, and go to the bottom of the page and click join my mailing list, and go to Amazon and get Rene Michelle's book, and also Cheryl Dyson-Bennett's book, and also my books on Amazon. So when I end the show, I always end it with a food for thought. So today's food for thought, since we dealt a lot with safety and protection, my food for thought today is called God's protection is all around you. An army of angels is fighting for you. And I got it from the GodTV.com website. Real challenges face us in an increasingly insecure world. Disasters, terrorism, new strains of viruses, economic struggles, broken, displaced families surround us on all sides. In the midst of these tensions that can crush our peace and increase our levels of anxiety, it's comforting to know that God's protection surrounds us at all times. Psalms 125 verse 2 gives us a vivid picture of what God's protection looks like. He says, "As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people both now and forevermore." We hear a lot today about surround sound, as in the music, but this is surround protection. This is God's protection. The prophet Elisha was in grave danger in a city called Dothan. The king of Aram was desperate to get his hands on Elisha and had sent a strong force to surround the city by night. When Elisha's servant awoke the following morning, he was terrified, seeing the big army surrounding the city. Elisha, however, was unbothered, and in 2 Kings 6:16 it says, "Don't be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." The Lord then opened the eyes of the servant, and the scripture says, he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around. And that can be found in 2 Kings 6:17. God's protection had been placed over his prophet. Jesus Christ is the same today, yesterday, and forevermore. The Apostle John further adds, "Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world." That includes anything Satan or the world can throw at us. Let us therefore trust God to always surround us with the protection needed for us and our families. Psalm 32:7 says, "You are my hiding place. You will protect me from trouble and surround me with songs of deliverance." And here's a short prayer that I would want you to pray every day. And the prayer is, "Lord, may your mighty protection surround us every day. Keep us confident, therefore, in that trust." And we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all for watching Wanda's Warriors show. I pray that each and every one of you have a blessed weekend. Don't forget to share this video so others can watch the replay. And my motto is live out loud. Thank you all again for watching, and God bless you all. Thank you.